Rita, doing Bachelor of Science in Gender and Applied Women Health, and I'm in charge of Service Delivery, MPP.
Right. Good morning to you all. I'm Gladys Nakalema. I teach psychology in the Faculty of Science. I am a peer educator for life. Yeah, and I'm the HIV focal person.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Maureen Kahima, and I'm the Deputy Dean of Students. And I'm here to commemorate the lives of those I have lost to HIV/AIDS.
So I would like all of you to stand up as we observe a moment of silence for the lives lost. Continue to rest in internal peace. Well, so we are going to have our opening remarks from the Dean of Students, Mr. Emmanuel Chagaba. Just to for online, eh? No, it's just for online.
Okay, to be able to pick. I had already been introduced. I'm Emmanuel Chagaba. I'm the Dean of Students. And I'm glad to be here with all of you today. Now, when we are looking at a day like this one, when we are discussing the memorial function to remember those who have succumbed to HIV/AIDS, it reminds me that the first story of Slim, a disease called Slim, that was identified in some parts of Uganda. When the first story came, I was already an adult. So the first story came when I was actually at university. The first story of Slim, before we knew about HIV, before we knew about AIDS, before the disease was even identified. Some of us were already in the thick of it. And that was in the early 1980s. And therefore, when we are talking of commemorating those who have succumbed, those who have contributed, some of us have had the unpleasant opportunity of witnessing it over the years. That 4 decades down the road, we are still really in the middle of a crash program. The university opted to have it 2 days earlier, being mindful of the fact that come 21st, the exam timetable is up, and therefore many of you will be very busy. So we are glad to have a technical person to give us the keynote on the emerging trends and current trends. We are glad to have Gladys, who has been a focal person for some time. She actually took over the role of focal person for me. I was the first focal person for the institutional policy by default, because when I came to this university very many years ago, we didn't have a policy. In Botswana that had developed one. There was Nkumba University in Uganda that was developing one. So we worked along with Nkumba University to develop workplace policy. Now that workplace policy was developed 2 decades ago. The first version was 2004, launched by the University Council in January of 2005. It was reviewed after 10 years. Now we have the second version of the policy, and that workplace policy, its implementation has helped us to break the ice. We can now talk about the problem, we cannot talk about HIV, we cannot talk about how it is transmitted, we cannot talk about how to avoid it, we can talk about how to live with it and how to appreciate it as a challenge that we have, and we see how to manage it. And therefore, that I was invited to make the opening remarks was also a pleasant opportunity for me to see how far we have come and hope that in the near future, during the time when some of us will still be alive, we may see an end to this challenge. I welcome you and wish you fruitful deliberations as we remember those that made their contribution and their sacrifice and are no longer with us. Have a fruitful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dean. Personally, I would like to share a certain moment. I lost an auntie. Back then, we were still young. Of course, we could not differentiate. We didn't know what AIDS was back then. But when I come to, as we grow, I came to realize it was HIV because of the signs they used to have. She had wounds. She had wounds, the way she would cough. But as kids, we would not know. We would not know anything. We would just think she was sick. So on this particular day, it takes me back. It is really sad that we are here because of that, but we have to remember and honor the lives that were lost to AIDS. I don't know if some of you have had a relative or a friend or a colleague that has gone through that. But that is why we are here today, to honor them and remember them. So we are going to welcome Dr. Robina. She has a presentation on the current trends on HIV in Mbarara specifically. So let's welcome her.
So good morning to you all once again. I'm privileged to be here to talk to you about HIV stroke AIDS in Mbarara City. I'm just going to talk about the current trends of HIV stroke AIDS in Mbarara City. I'll talk about the progress. I'll talk about treatment and prevention modalities that we have in place. Then I'll talk about the importance of the Candlelight Memorial, the reason why we are here today. So briefly, that's what I'm going to talk about. So if we look at the statistics of Uganda AIDS Commission, Mbarara as a whole has a prevalence of about 13.1%. And this is way above the national average, which is 5.8%, around 5.8%. And it has the third highest prevalence in the country after Kalangala and Kabarole. So we have a very high prevalence of HIV stroke AIDS in Mbarara City. That is Mbarara as a whole. When you go to Mbarara City, the prevalence is about 7.1%, because it's smaller than Mbarara as a whole. So those are the averages, and you can see we are not doing well. Being the third in the country, really statistic-wise, it's not a very good thing for us. But at least we have efforts that we are putting in place to ensure that at least we don't add on those numbers. So when you look at the trends over the past 4 years, from 2020 to 2023, you realize the blue graphs represent the people who are active in treatment, in care, in Mbarara City. So as you can see, our graphs are increasing. We are increasing steadily. The people who are going into care. That means it's a good thing. It means that we are identifying the cases in the community. It also means that the people who are on care are in care. You know, there's some people who can be identified, but they don't start treatment. So it's a good thing that most of our people are enrolled into care, but it also speaks a lot to the life expectancy. It means that from 2020, we are maintaining our people. They are not dying from HIV-related deaths. And that's why we just keep on adding on the numbers. So it is good in that the case identification, because the people there in the communities, is increasing. It means that people are being retained on treatment, but it also means that people are surviving. They're not dying from HIV. If we had a downward trend of people on care, it would mean maybe people are dying, or we are not identifying people, or maybe people are not on treatment. So this is a good trend for us, the blue. Then the orange line is just representing the new cases that are being identified every year. So it means that from 2020 to 2023, the cases that are being identified are going down. So it means that prevention approaches are working. So when we go into a deep dive of the percentage of new infections by age, we want to know who is contributing most to these new infections in the city. And when you look at that graph, I don't have a pointer, but when you look at that age group of 25 to 29, that is where most of our new infections are coming from. 25 to 29, followed by 20 to 24, then followed by 30 to 34, then 35 to 39, then 40 to 44, and then 15 to 19. So you see that starting at the age of 15, we start rising. We start rising, and then as people age, the new infections go down. So that means that we have to concentrate on that age group of adolescents and young people. That's where we should focus on. So the different colors represent the different years, but the graphs show the age groups that are contributing mainly to these new infections. And so from adolescents and young people, that is where the problem is. When you look further in this graph, in these age groups of adolescents and young people, we find that the females are the biggest contributors. If you look in the first slide, you would see that the blue shows the total number of new infections. Then the orange represents how many infections are contributed to by the adolescent girls and young women. Then the gray is showing how many infections are contributed to by the adolescent boys and young men. So you see that the females are turning more positives, especially in the age group of adolescents and young women. So we see that the trend in Mbarara City is that the new infections are mainly coming from the young people, 20 to 30 years, and also adolescents. But we also see that it is higher in the females. So the young females are contributing a lot to that. So I'll talk about what we have in place to ensure that we target and prevent such that we don't have new infections. So the initiatives that we have in place in Mbarara City that are readily available, and all these initiatives are free of charge. We have voluntary medical male circumcision. So circumcision helps to prevent HIV, and it's available in almost all the facilities, and it's free. Then we have condoms and lubricant distribution. And this is mainly also prevention in terms of the mode of transmission of HIV, the barrier methods. It helps to prevent infection. Then we have what we call post-exposure prophylaxis. Post-exposure prophylaxis, it's a type of ARVs we give to people who have been exposed to HIV. Maybe you have been raped, maybe you have had a needle stick injury, maybe you have had a one-night stand with someone and you don't know their status and you're suspicious. So when you come within 72 hours, we are able to help you and give you drugs that will prevent contraction of the virus. So those drugs are readily available in most of the facilities. Then we have what we call pre-exposure prophylaxis. These are drugs we give to people to prevent HIV even before they are exposed. If you know that you have high-risk behavior, like we give them especially to sex workers, men who have sex with men, people who have so many partners, then also people who are HIV positive, people who are living in discordant couples, meaning that maybe your partner is positive and for you you're negative. So these drugs will prevent you from contracting the disease. We have the oral drugs for pre-exposure prophylaxis. Then currently we have a vaginal ring that is coming on board. It is new. They insert it and prevents HIV. So we give pre-exposure prophylaxis to the high-risk populations. If you know, we screen and you see that you are high risk of contracting HIV, we give you pre-exposure. Then we have what we call DREAMS programs. As you saw the trends, the problem was adolescent girls and young women and also the young men. So the DREAMS program, the USA-funded program, what they do, they provide safe spaces for the young people. And in these safe spaces, they teach the young people about HIV, AIDS. They teach them about prevention. They screen them for STIs and treat the STIs. They teach them about family planning. They screen them for HIV/AIDS, and those that are at a high risk, we give them prevention. We link them to prevention services like condoms, like PrEP, and all those things. But most importantly, these DREAMS programs, they skill the young women. They give them life skills. They teach them saloon, they teach them baking, they teach them different skills such that they can earn a living. And we saw that the drivers of HIV among the young women, most of them, they don't have money. So maybe they have sex for money. Maybe they sleep with older men for money. Maybe they want to go to school and they don't have money. So they have that exchange of sex for money and they end up contracting HIV/AIDS. So the DREAMS program is meant to empower these young people to earn a living, to get skills, such that they don't engage in risky behaviors that will expose them to HIV/AIDS. So these programs are readily available in Mbarara City and they are free of charge. Then we have gender-based violence, screening and management. So gender-based violence is the driver of HIV/AIDS. Gender-based violence, we talk about, there are many forms of violence. We have physical violence, we have emotional violence. When people are violated, they become vulnerable and they, in a way, are exposed to HIV/AIDS. Also, defilement and rape go under gender-based violence. So we screen for this and manage it, and in a way, we are preventing HIV/AIDS. Then we screen for STIs and treat them in almost all the areas. Even when we go for outreaches in the community, we screen for this and manage them, especially among sex workers and those populations, really try to screen for them. Because when we have STIs, these are the STIs of maybe gonorrhea, syphilis, those STIs, they increase even the chances of getting HIV/AIDS because they are breaking the barriers. So we screen them and treat them. Then another initiative is we are looking out for people in the community that have HIV. You get it? So because when we actively look out for these people that are living with HIV or AIDS, we ensure that these people are on treatment. So if they're on treatment, their viral load, the virus in their blood, will be low or undetectable. And when the viral load becomes low, the chances of transmitting to other people reduces. So the most important thing is people should know their status. They start treatment, and when they start treatment, they suppress the virus. When they suppress the virus, then the transmission rates also go low. So we are actively looking out for cases in the community that are already infected, but they are not on treatment, and ensuring that they are on treatment. And some of the strategies we are using is we are giving out HIV self-testing kits. I don't know if most of you have seen Aura Quick. Have you seen Aura Quick? That's something you swab and you do a test. But there are also other blood-based self-testing kits. We want people to test themselves and know their statuses. We also use what we call a social network strategy. If we have someone who is HIV positive, we look out for their peers, their friends. Most likely they're engaging in similar high-risk behaviors. And so we target and ensure that they are also tested and they know their status. But also we have high risk. Like someone can come and test negative, but they are high-risk negatives. People who have multiple partners, sex workers, bartenders, truck drivers. Such people, the high-risk negatives, we look for their peers also, because they are most likely also engaging in similar risky habits, such that they know their status. It all starts with knowing your status. Then we have other strategies like index client testing. That one involves if you have an HIV positive person, you look for their partners and test them. If a mother is HIV positive, you look for the children, the biological children, and test them. If you have a child in care and they're HIV positive, most likely even the siblings may be HIV positive. So you target those people, and because they are high-risk groups, and test them, and after testing them, you'll know their status and start them on treatment if they're positive, suppress the virus, and in the end, you're protecting the community. So those are the prevention initiatives that we put in place that are available in the city, and they are all free of charge. Then we have treatment initiatives. So under treatments, what are the things? We have what we call rapid initiation on ARVs. Initially, years back, when someone was identified to be HIV positive, they'll first give you like Septrin, and they wait for you, and when your CD4 is goes low, that's when they will, or when your body becomes weak, that's when they would start treatment. You get it? And sometimes then some people it was too late for them, and so we lost lives. But in the current era, the moment we identify you today, whether you're very healthy or running, we ensure that you start immediately. We don't want you to first become weak and then we start treatment. Sometimes it's too late. So those are the initiatives we put in place. And then the other initiative under treatment is we have what we call differentiated service delivery models. These are models of managing patients. So it is it's like client-centered approaches. We want these people to be in charge of their treatment. We want these people to be empowered with their treatment. We want them to be comfortable. Some people are comfortable receiving their ARVs at their homes. Others are comfortable coming to the health center. Others are comfortable, like we have different models, such that people are comfortable with the service they are receiving. So, like for the corporates, we even have pharmacies. We partner with pharmacies in town, and someone can go and pick their ARVs. Like, you just go to maybe Guardian Pharmacy and pick your drugs. You don't have to come to the facility. And in a way, it reduces stigma. Because if some people are like, when they see you going to the hospital every 6 months or every what, they are suspicious. Or when they see you sitting in the art clinic. So we've come up with ways to ensure that people are comfortable. If you can't come to the facility, we can come to your homes. If you can't come to the facility, we can put maybe in community retail pharmacies. You just go there and pick your drugs. Really, we are trying to package it in a way that people can receive care anywhere, and they're comfortable with the way they're receiving their care. Because when they are comfortable, they take their drugs very well. When they take their drugs very well, we suppress the virus and we reduce transmission. So those are the differentiated service delivery models. The pregnant women have their own models. The adolescents and young children have their models. We have people who get drugs in the communities. We have those that get in pharmacies. We have those who get drugs from the facility. And these are initiatives to ensure that people are adhering to their drugs. Then we have, under treatment, we have what we call the integrated service delivery models and directly observed treatment. Here we are helping mainly people who are not swallowing their drugs very well. We want them to swallow their drugs very well because we want to fight the virus. So what we do, we healthcare workers and other peers, they go and ensure they come to your home and ensure you're taking their drugs. They have to see you swallowing. So this model is for people who are not suppressing their virus. We want people to suppress their virus. So under that model, we go to people's homes, people who are not suppressing the virus. We support them. We look for the root causes. Why aren't they? Maybe they don't have food. Maybe they have stress, emotional challenges. Maybe they are alcoholics. Maybe it is a child and their caretaker is illiterate. They're not very sure of how to give them drugs. So in this model, we go and support people at community level in their homes. We ensure that they're taking their drugs very well. By saying, we physically see that you've taken their drugs. But also, when we go to someone's home, we give them psychosocial support, we counsel them, we teach them prevention mechanisms. We also screen for other diseases and also test other household members to ensure that they're also not infected. So that one is also a treatment initiative that we have in place. Then the other treatment initiative is we are actively screening for advanced HIV disease. So advanced HIV diseases like stage 3 or 4, the very sick ones, the ones that have TB, meningitis, serious pneumonia, those ones. We're actively looking out for those and treating, such that people don't have HIV-related deaths. We don't want people to die from HIV in this day and era. It's unacceptable. So those are the initiatives we have in place. So the progress and gains that we have in place, like the Dean gave a preamble, of course, we have really moved. We have a lot of progress. Like, we now know how to prevent HIV. We know how to diagnose it. We know the signs and symptoms of HIV. We even know the stages of HIV. We know the treatment, how to give the treatment. Really, the progress is high. But the key highlights in the progress is we have increased the number of people on treatments. meaning that we are identifying the cases. It means that even the other people who already know their status are maintained in care. It means that people are not dying. So really, that is the positive for us. Then we have a decrease in HIV-related deaths. Most people are dying from accidents. They're dying from unrelated causes. They're no longer dying from HIV. They're dying from other things, maybe accidents or what. The deaths that are directly related to HIV are really, really going down. Then we have a decrease in new infections, as we saw. Although we still have so many new infections, but at least the trend is going down. So it means that our prevention is working. Then we have also an increase in early infant diagnosis coverage. So early infant diagnosis is where we get children who are born to HIV positive mothers. Those exposed children, we test them. And if they are negative, we teach these mothers prevention. How are you going to ensure that your child doesn't get HIV or AIDS? So that coverage in HIV-exposed infants, it has gone up. And so we are seeing a decline in mother-to-child transmission, really, which is a very good thing. It is really sad when a child turns positive from their parent. So it is a gain for us. So challenges in prevention. The challenges that we are facing is we have misconception about some prevention methods like PrEP. PrEP, the ARVs we give someone to prevent HIV. So because they're ARVs, people are like, people think that I'm HIV positive, I won't take those drugs. So the uptake is a bit low, or because of that. So there are also myths and misconceptions about prevention methods. Then there are other misconceptions that we are trying to work upon. People who think that maybe when someone is well lubricated, they won't contract HIV. You've had those myths. So there are challenges, and we are really, really trying to educate people and ensure that we break these misconceptions. Then stigma and discrimination is a very big one, because of the stigma around HIV and AIDS. People even fear testing. They would rather not know than you get because of the stigma and discrimination. So when we reduce stigma and discrimination, people will come out and test themselves. People will come out and disclose that I'm HIV positive. And when you know someone is HIV positive, then even prevention is easier to target. Then we have disclosure challenges. Then we have some government policies like the Anti-Homosexuality Act. Some of these people, the homosexuals and transgenders, they are high-risk groups for HIV/AIDS. So some of them keep in hiding, and we don't want them to hide. We want them to come out, such that we give them prevention methods, such that we test them and start them on treatment if they are positive. So that's a bit of a challenge, but at least in all our facilities, we are providing services. We don't discriminate your gender. We don't discriminate whether you're homosexual or what. For us, we are providing services to all of them. So, my last slide, I'll just talk about the significance of this memorial. Why are we here? Why do people take time off to remember this day? So the significance of the memorial is, first of all, we remember the lives that have been lost and touched by HIV/AIDS. Most of us have lost maybe a family member, a friend, a neighbor, an auntie. So we remember them, but beyond remembering them, we want to learn. We want to reflect on their deaths. In this day and era, what can we do different to ensure that people are not dying in a similar manner? Now that science has advanced, are we going to still have people dying from HIV and AIDS? So we are remembering, but we're also reflecting on what we can do different. Then it's also an opportunity to honor those that have dedicated their lives to helping people living with HIV. We remember the healthcare workers, we honor the healthcare workers, we honor advocates for HIV, like all of you are. We are honoring researchers and scientists. We are honoring these caregivers that are looking after their people who are living with HIV. Then we are celebrating progress and gains. We've looked at where we are from and where we are and where we are going. So we are celebrating that at least we are reducing new infections. We are celebrating that people are on treatments and suppressing. We are celebrating that we have modalities that are good and people can get services at their convenience. Really, we have many gains, and on this day we celebrate that. Then we also reignite our efforts. When I heard of Candlelight, I thought, what are we lighting? So when we reignite, for me, that it's symbolic. We are going to reignite and our efforts, and also have a spirit of unity in the fight against AIDS. All of us have a role to play. It's not only the healthcare workers, it's not only researchers. Every single person in the community has a role to play. You may have a role in advocacy. You may have a role in reducing stigma and discrimination. You might have a role of being a caregiver of someone living with HIV/AIDS. You may have a role in raising awareness. So all of us have to put our efforts together and ensure that we fight HIV/AIDS. Then it is an opportunity to raise awareness. Of course, I think even from this talk, some people have learned a few things about HIV. So we are raising awareness in the community about the disease and how to prevent it and how to manage it. Then the most important is we are fostering compassion. On this day, we really emphasize that we should be compassionate and empathetic to people living with HIV or AIDS. Because when we are compassionate, we reduce the stigma, reduce the discrimination, and in the end, these people will also have a feeling of being loved. They'll have a feeling of self-worth, and so they will take their treatment. They will know that they can live a normal life, they can get married, they can study, they can live up to 90 years. So when we are compassionate and empathetic, really we have so many gains. Then we're also going to give, it's a day to give hope. We're preaching a message of hope to people living with HIV. As you can see, people are surviving. People are living up to 90 years. People have lived with HIV for 40 years. So we are giving hope to, especially the people who are turning newly positive. We are giving them hope that you can live a normal life. You can even live for 10 years when you've not gone down with any illness. So we give them hope that you can live a normal life, a functional life, just like any other normal person. You can go to school, finish, get a job, get married, get children, grandchildren. You can be a leader in the community. You can be anything. You're not any different when you have HIV or AIDS. So we are preaching a message of hope. Yeah, so thank you. That was my presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robina. From her slides, I have picked a few points. She talked about most people are currently on care. And one thing I'm very sure of is that HIV no longer kills at a high rate like back then. Back then, people were ignorant about their lives, they were reckless. But now people have adapted to the ARVs. But that does not mean that we should have live sex, because people are surviving. And when it comes to us ladies, we are vulnerable. So I would advise that we always carry at least protection. You never know. You never know what could happen. Like she talked about a one-night stand. You never know. And at MUST, we have put up condom dispensers. We have condom dispensers in different washrooms, all faculties. We have put up condoms. I always check by like after 2 weeks to see if they've reduced, I refill. So we have those measures at least. And also, we always invite AIC, AIDS Information Center, to come and give us some counseling and then free testing. And she has said that Mbarara is the 3rd district. That is most, yes. That is very sad, but that is the trend. But as the MUST community and peer educators, we've tried to bring awareness. The VCTs I've talked about, the outreaches we have, they always carry condoms. They talk about the causes, the preventions, and all that. So thank you so much, Dr. Robina. And do you have any questions according to her presentation? Yes, sir.
Can I look at the slide that had thank you, Dr. Robina. Can you look at the slide that had the graphs on prevalence by age group? Prevalence by age group. Yes. Now, when I look at this graph, I imagine those from 0 to 9 maybe were born HIV positive. Now, I am looking at the age bracket of 10 to 14 years. These are primary and lower secondary. I think that's why we are losing it. Because here we have that age bracket where the prevalence is not significant. And then all of a sudden, as they transit into the 15-19 age bracket, there is that really rapid growth. If you look at it in terms of percentage, possibly that's where the highest percentage increase is. Now, so to me, we are losing it between that age bracket of 10 years to 19 years. By the time we go to 20, 30-year bracket, we have already actually.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Robin. I think maybe with your permission, if you could allow, although this is live, but I think if you allow us, we could cut your video and we circulate it further, because I guess this information is really, really important. Maybe, I don't know if we still have movie nights, we could also, in one of those movie nights, have this clip played and our students can really get this information. But for us, we are willing to circulate it on all our platforms so that this information goes. And now to the question, I see, because when you are presenting about women being the most affected, I had some of our colleagues here saying, I wish kabatwit. So I don't know, is it maybe from your experience and the work you do, is it because these ladies actually offer themselves to test, or maybe they are the ones who really enjoy sex most? Because there is a myth. Most of us, myself inclusive, when your girl tests and she's negative, the assumption is you're also negative. I don't know if also that applies, because it happens a lot. Whenever she tests and you have had things before and she comes out negative, then you're all happy and you're excited, oh, I'm also okay. But maybe perhaps you're not, and sometimes because of that you don't even think about testing. Maybe I wanted you to address on those two issues. If someone tests negative and we have had sex before, is it okay for me to actually sit and be comfortable that I'm safe? Or maybe I also need to find out for myself. Then the other issue that you may want to address, maybe from your experience, whether these statistics in women are high, maybe because they test or they are the ones who enjoy sex a lot. Thank you.
To you, Dr. Robina.
I'll first answer Nadine about this. So this graph is not showing prevalence. The graph is showing new infections. Yes. The people who are being newly identified, they are coming from which age group? And we see that most of the newly identified are in this age group. But to answer your question about how we targeting to ensure that the incidence goes down. When you look at the age group of 10 to 14 years, really, most likely these are people who have been identified late, or they are picking up a virus from their home, from maybe their siblings, maybe their parents, unknowingly. So that's why we emphasize index client testing, that if you have a mother who is HIV positive, you're going to go to their homes and also test the other children and other household members and ensure that they are safe. We are giving them mothers self-testing kits to go and test their children, and also fathers. Then we are also ensuring that if we have a child who is HIV positive, most likely, okay, there are high chances that even the siblings could be HIV positive. So we also go and check the biological siblings of that child. And that strategy is actually what is yielding those high numbers in those age groups. It's because we are identifying them more these days. It's not that maybe they are getting it from their peers or what. It's because we've intensified the case finding in that age group. Then when you look at these adolescents and young girls, especially, we have approaches that we have put in place to ensure that really we target these people. Like I talked about the DREAMS programming. DREAMS, we provide safe spaces to these adolescent girls and young women. They come in, we screen them for HIV, we screen them for STIs and treat them. We give them information, health education about prevention. We offer them pre-exposure prophylaxis, the high risk, those that are high risk. We ensure that we tell them the prevention options. We tell them about circumcision if they are males. We tell them about the PrEP, the drugs you can take to prevent HIV. We tell them about post-exposure. If there's an accident, what can you do to prevent this? But most importantly, we skill these young girls. You know that stage, a girl starts wanting money, they start wanting things. So somehow they are tempted to engage in risky habits to get to have a livelihood. So we ensure that we empower these girls with skills. Like I talked about, we're empowering them with saloon, such that they're just not at home redundant. We're empowering them with baking, we're empowering them with so many skills that can help them live independent lives and not have to engage in risky habits, but also they occupy them, you know, an idle mind that is. So we occupy them and ensure so that it's a really good program for this age group, and I think it targets all the aspects. We also educate them, we give them psychosocial support, we counsel them, all those things, but we also do school outreaches and give education. Yes, thank you. Then about the question of are women having more sex than men? No, I wouldn't say women are having more sex than men. But scientifically, women are they are more prone than men to getting HIV. Their nature, their anatomy, the way their reproductive organs are, just by their nature, a woman is more at risk of getting HIV. If, um, if for example, it, it takes, this is just a theoretical example, if it takes one encounter for a woman to get HIV/AIDS, it may take like 3 encounters for a man to get HIV or AIDS because of the way the women are. Their reproductive organs, they have a lot of exposure along their vaginal canals, their vulva, their sexual, the fluids. Really, a woman is more prone to getting HIV naturally as compared to a man. But also from our interactions with these new positives and what, we see that women are engaging in risky behaviors. They have multiple partners, and yet they are more at risk. You get it? They are, and we have a lot of sex workers in Mbarara because it's a hot spot. We have people going up country, people going to Rwanda, Kabale. So we have a lot of sex workers that are also contributing to that. But also, a woman is more likely to engage in risky sex than a man. Like it is more likely for a young girl to engage in sex for money, even when they don't know a person's status, because of their vulnerabilities, than a man to do that. You get? Most of the men find they have sex and what, but it's rare to find them having sex for money or sex for all those things. And those are the drivers of HIV. Hey, like if your partner is positive, should you also test? Yes, you should test. We have discordant couples. There are so many. You find I'm sleeping with someone, I'm positive, they are negative. Those couples are there and they are very many. So you should know your status. Your status is not your partner's status. Your status is your status. Yes.
And also, he had a question about circumcision. He was asking, is a circumcision still a measure?
Yes, circumcision prevents HIV. It's a measure.
Any other questions about two for her? Can we share you? Any other question?
Thank you. Me, I'm asking about the prep. Like, do you take it for a month or once? And if yes, is it available in public hospitals?
PrEP, we have different PrEP options. We have oral PrEP, we have vaginal rings that are coming on board. Then we're also going to get an injectable one, but it's not yet on board. But at least by the end of this year, we should be having it. So PrEP, is it taken once, or you continue taking PrEP as long as the risk is still there? You get? If you're still engaging in risky behavior, you have to continue taking it. It's not a one-off. So you can take it for a month, and after a month, if you see you're no longer at risk, you can stop. If you're still at risk, you continue taking it. It's a risk-based kind of thing. And it's available in public facilities, and it's also free of charge.
So if I may ask, isn't PrEP too much dangerous?
What?
Isn't PrEP having a lot of disorder, isn't it too much effective on the body?
Like side effects. Of course, just like any other drugs, there are side effects. but most of the effects are minimal. Like maybe when you've just started taking it, you might get some abdominal upsets or whatever. But really, the effects are very, very minimal, and maybe after 2 or 3 days, you're okay.
If
The majority don't even get any side effects.
if you don't mind, if you can highlight some of the side effects.
Side effects: abdominal discomfort. Um, that is really, those are the common ones.
Yeah, well, thank you. You said you take PEP 72 hours after. No.
Within 72
Within,
hours.
okay, within 72. So that means you can even take PrEP 72 hours before or.
No, they are different drugs.
Yeah.
So it depends on the PrEP option.
One last question. You talked about something for the ladies to put in the. Yes, yes. So it's put once, just like these are family planning.
Yeah, I put it there, and it goes for a month. The drug gets done after a month, then you can come for a refill.
You're inserting it inside.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Robina. So we're going to have a word or two from the Deputy Dean she's giving us. So let's give her our ears.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Dr. Robina, for those insights. I just want to share a bit of an experience. When I was a young student at university, the day I reported a student died of HIV, of AIDS, in that the same hall I was going to reside, that I resided in. And so you can imagine a village girl, you get to Makerere, and they tell you somebody has died of AIDS. It was so, so scary. I was still a student when Fire Rutaya announced that he had AIDS. And I was a student even when he came to Makerere. And if you ever see that, if you ever see that video, that recording on news or anywhere, just to know I was in that crowd at Makerere, because all of us were eager to see what does a person with AIDS look like. And it wasn't a very pleasant sight. But I'm glad with the advent of HIV, of ARVs, we've seen people live longer, we've seen people live healthy lives, and many times I keep thinking, oh, those my relatives who died, maybe if they had lived a little longer, they would still be alive. Those who lived longer, at least they saw their children grow. They saw their children grow. They saw, I remember my aunt who died in 2019, she even lived to see her grandchildren. So ARVs have been really a good source of hope for people living with HIV. And my first work experience was with TASO, when they were still treating opportunistic infections. Again, it was a tough situation where you visit somebody in their home, the next time you go back, you find a fresh grave. So you wouldn't be sure if you'd leave to see your client at the next visit. So I'm happy with the progress that has been made, and my prayer is, like Dean said earlier, that we may live to see the end of HIV, and that I think the world will have achieved one of its biggest achievements in the struggle against HIV. I want to end by reading the words of Fide Bongore Rutaya's song, Alone and Frightened. I can't sing because my voice is not so good, but I would request AIT TV to find that song and play it for us as you air out these this video so that we can know how. So there is a stanza on the second stanza that let's be open and advise the young ones, a new generation to protect and love. Hear them singing, playing, laughing. Let's give them everything in truth and love. And he again goes on to say, take the message, cross the frontiers, break the barriers, we'll fight together. The doors are open, we lead the struggle, we won't bow down. In defeat, we'll fight on. And of course, we know the chorus. Today it's me, tomorrow someone else. We've got to stand up and fight. I thank you so much.
Thank you so much, the Deputy Dean. So we are going to have a few words from Madam Gladys.
Okay, I know we have been talking for over an hour now, and lucky you, what I had prepared has been largely talked about. When it comes to days for commemorating HIV/AIDS victims, for me it hits home because I was lucky to grow at a time when people had overcome their fear and now they were accepting that this is a real problem. So in the early 90s and late 80s, everyone was scared. People would literally not pass a home where they know there is an AIDS patient, because the AIDS patient would be in a room that is stinking, that everyone would feel like death is right there, you know? And so even relatives would shift from homes to leave their loved one behind because they know they are going to die. So there are homes in some areas where there are graves as evidence that this home, the parents of these children they passed away as a result of AIDS. So, but our generation, who are in a state where everyone was all hands on deck, tell the young ones, just like Phile's song, tell the young ones, let's try as much as possible to protect them. So I was in the protected generation. I had my first training on HIV and sexual reproductive health in my primary 6. And that training was so extensive that they talked about confidence, they talked about communicating, saying that you do not want to be sexually active to your colleague, your peer, but also they taught us how to use a condom. They taught us how to use sanitary pads at that time. So it was that broad, in addition to knowing what you want. We drew pictures of ourselves and what we wanted to do. So the individuals who grew up in our generation saw Phile, and then also saw the result of protecting oneself. Because we lived like everybody else is positive, and I'm the only one that is negative. That's how we lived. But you and I know that today that's different. Okay? There are things, the perceptions around life, social life, economic life, political life are quite different. And we are focused on results, whether it is social life, you want to have a partner, settle down, have a boyfriend, settle down. The young people, 14, 15, want boyfriends, isn't it? And proms have shown us that. We all dress up, we don ourselves like we are 20 years old, but we are 14, 15. And so in the social arena, we have a boyfriend, and oh my God, it's the it thing. When it comes to economics, we want the product of, I want to look like I am. I have a vibe, eh? Isn't that the language? I have a vibe. I know I have the latest iPhone. I am wearing the trending clothes. So the economic drives are also pushing us. So while for us it was, I don't want to know about that. Oh no, I'm afraid of having sex because of that. Now it is, what do I want? I want a new phone. How do I get it? My parents, who are teachers, my parents, who are businessmen, cannot afford one. But I have a colleague who has one, and it seems like they got it in this way. So they end up following the colleague's tendencies. Yeah? Politically, she mentioned there are political drivers, like agendas, that actually interrupt the gains of HIV. The anti-homosexuality bill is going to take us steps behind, not because of the finances that come in as a result of this aid, and then they say they are bringing an agenda. No. For a long time, health services have been provided for individuals who have men who have sex with men. And there was a reason for that. There is a ring that we have in our sexual reproductive network that these men who have sex with men will have actually partners because of the social, the social requirement to be married and settled. Okay? So they will have their partners. So you have your partner this side and your partner the other side. So now if we don't provide health services to these individuals, then we are going against the Public Health Act that I want to believe is more important than the anti-homosexuality bill. So you can see that even politically, there are challenges. As individuals were speaking here, and I was crossing out everything they had talked about, the one thing that stuck with me was the age range within which new infections occur. So I am not going to say much. I want you now to talk. What are some of those drivers within the university setting that could be contributing to the new infections among 20 to 30-year-olds? Your colleagues, what you see them do? What are some of those drivers? As you think about that, when we get those responses, because the university has something it can do about it, think of what we can do. Besides the movie night, besides the interest group discussions, besides the regular meetings and outreaches we have as peer educators, what new thing can we do to curb the spread of HIV within this age group? And that's at the university. But we know that you have holidays, and we know that some of these behaviors may be through interaction with members outside the community. We should also highlight those and see what can we do about people within our age group, because when you are finding a spouse, it's not a must that you should find a spouse or a sexual partner within the same university. You find them elsewhere, okay? So what are some of those drivers still outside the university setting that are likely to put young people, you, at risk of contracting HIV? Because we are here to heal. As much as we want to not forget where we've come from, but the only way we can heal is by identifying these particular drivers. So Jackie, I'm going to ask you to take note. And Ronald, please move around the microphone. So what are some of those drivers? I have noted some names here, so I might call randomly. We have Musomesa Johnson. Do you have anything to say about that? In the meantime, Stefan has something to say. So Johnson, if you're not prepared, Stefan can say something.
Thank you so much. Maybe one of the things I can say is peer influence, whereby most of our friends or colleagues see their fellow colleagues moving with the rest of the other people. Or they feel like they want to be part, but there are some consequences that come with being part of a certain kind of group or peer. I think this has also actually led to an increase in the HIV, in the increase in HIV through having sex with different partners who maybe can be having HIV.
Okay.
Yeah, I also talk about losing morale.
Pardon?
Losing morale of, let me say, some people lose morale or they are not motivated towards what they are already doing or their life. So in that way, they lack guidance towards their life. They lack people to guide them on the right way and how to do things. And in that way, they definitely choose to move in life of another different perspective.
Mm.
Yeah.
So when people lose morale, then they don't have enough guidance to do the right thing. Okay? Johnson, you have something to say?
Thank you so much. So there are a number of drivers that can lead to the high prevalence of HIV in this institute. But as we are outreaching to different residential areas, for me, what I noticed about most of
Can get the kids more because in every outreach, students need them to do them themselves. The kids on board. The other thing, workshops may be involving for the fellow students because they won't be in to hear out to us because many are, as you say, they are shy. Maybe online workshops if they can be. And the other thing, we had a hot seat recently. So the questions of the guild aspirants, they were on too. So they asked, one guild, and he's like, he's going to try to put on board a curriculum that brings up the sex related. I don't know how that will be now university for every curriculum that a business student is going to bring up sex related matters in the curriculum. I don't know how that will be. Anyway, we're just waiting for Honorable Daisy to do that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Those are good suggestions, the 3 suggestions. So just a moment.
Yeah, I understand the major reason why we are here is maybe studying or books, but at some point books also overwhelm us, and you find you're stressed day in day out, tests today, tests the other, and the way maybe of you relieving that stress, you think of going out with that person. That's why most of the time someone is saying weekend through where are we? You get me?
Weekend tuliwa.
Yeah, just because you need to relieve that stress. So I think even in the curriculum you can spare time for such sex education related stuff. I think we shall be good to go.
Okay, so at some point through the HIV policy implementation, we attempted to incorporate HIV/AIDS awareness and education into the development studies curriculum. The advantage at that time and still now is that development studies course unit was a cross-cutting course unit. So we can re-engage the course coordinators and find the different aspects where the HIV, but also sexuality information can be passed on. Yeah. Doreen, thank you for the suggestion about self-testing kits. We can explore that further because when you hand them out, is there some education that is done? Are they dispensed to groups or to individuals?
Usually self-testing kits are given to individuals because we want to know who has taken the kit. We want to know their phone number. We want to follow them up and know the results. It's not just a matter of giving them out. We need to know what happened when you tested. You get, so for follow-up purposes, we usually give individuals, and we record. We have a register where we record them such that it is easy to follow up. Giving to group, giving them out in bulk, that's now a different story. It's like giving from one institution to another, and they have to account for them. That's how it is.
So possibly we need to have a table discussion on how to handle that. We have a medical officer at the university clinic. So if we can have somebody that is able to follow up, accessing those kits may be something that is plausible. You're smiling at me, Patience. Do you have something to say? Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. I wanted to talk about testing as well. As a driver to the increased HIV cases maybe in the universities. I am not sure, but even us as we are here, as students, few have taken a step ahead to get to know their status. We assume we are safe. And we fear to know our status. So there is a way it will keep on developing in different people's mind, and of course, if I don't test, I won't know my status.
Yeah.
And so I will not, and if I meet someone or a fellow student who doesn't even mind about knowing my status, and let's say I am positive, it will continue to spread. So if I don't test, she doesn't test, we are spreading it to many in the university. So now, when I come to the point, to the side of how can we curb it down, obviously it is encouraging each other to test. If I'm going to test, if there is a voluntary testing and counseling, I'm a peer educator, and I don't test, how will my classmate test?
So we lead by example.
Yes. Go as a peer educator, get tested, go and encourage your classmates, your friends to come and get tested. Yes, and then to the point of self-testing kits, personally, I don't think it's good. It's not. Because we have different ways of reacting to information, to results. If a peer educator, let's say our coordinator, accesses the testing kits and just disputes them, obviously I'll come for it, I give it to maybe Ronald, I come for it, I give it to Doreen. No one will know who has taken the kit when it comes to student side, and we all know that. So what if I take it, test myself, and I'm positive? Maybe I commit suicide. Who will be to blame? MPP. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That's why I was saying we need to have like a table discussion and see how to manage that particular aspect of testing in addition to the routine counseling and testing. Yes, Mariam, is it? Mariam, Bachelor of Gender and Women Health is directly into your alley. HIV/AIDS prevention for young women and young adolescents. So Mariam first, and then we'll have Rita. Rita is doing Bachelor of Gender and Women Health. Mariam, what are you doing? BBA. Yes, we've seen the economic drivers. So please, yes. Rita, you want to go first?
For me, I can think of hunger.
Hunger.
Yeah. And if you find the one who can solve that, you give it. Thank you very much. Since I'm a business lady, of course, it would be money. That is poverty. If I am broke, okay, sometimes when people are broke, the only thing to resort to maybe is that to get money. Yeah.
So what do you suggest we do for university students so that we help them meet their wants? Because they rarely need to meet their wants without necessarily engaging in risky sexual behaviors.
All right. Maybe creating some projects that through which like students can earn some income. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I forgot your name. Agnes? Agnes, yes. Okay, after that I'll come to you. Yes, so we'll have Agnes and then we'll have this gentleman here. You said Mosh? Okay. You speak deeply that I can barely hear you. Yes, Agnes.
Okay, me, my issue is still concerning on the testing kits. There is one time when we had an outreach, because previously we would have outreaches and people would keep asking for testing kits, testing kits. So I personally went to the council and they gave me 30 testing kits. Then they told me because of the issues of accountability, I have to take back the list of the people who have received the
And their
testing
phone
kits.
numbers.
I got the list, but they were okay. They said I get the number of the names of the people who have received, then their age, then the course they are doing, and maybe the results. But it is somehow very difficult for someone to test and then they still come back to give you the results. So because I had nothing to do, I had to, maybe all of them I put negative, 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 because that's what they wanted. So there is nothing like accuracy in that system of testing kits, unless you say, we shall put them maybe at the clinic so that people can come and test, then maybe the university clinic can get the results. Thank you.
Okay. I think there even to that mode would have worked. What I'm thinking is provide the phone number so that the health worker calls the individual to know the status.
I just wanted to give a comment about what you communicated. Now, you see, with self-testing kits, it's not just about an issue of distributing them. Really, we want to know the results, because what is the role of testing? We want to know if someone is positive or negative. And for example, if someone is positive on a self-testing kit, it is not actually a confirmatory test. We have to test again. You can be positive on a self-testing test, and then when we do that, these are the national standard testing algorithm, you turn out to be negative. So that's why we need to actually follow up. You may even commit suicide when it was maybe a false positive. So it is important that we know the results. I believe the challenge is because you are a student, your fellow peers would not want you to know their status. For us, what we require is at least you give us the names and the phone numbers. At least the healthcare worker, who is an independent party, can follow up and get the results. I think it's easier for a healthcare worker to get the results rather than a fellow peer, because they will fear to tell you their results.
I think that's a good suggestion. Lastly, Moshi.
To add on what she said, the lady, Agnes, most of the people don't want a fellow student to know his testing, his status. So I was suggesting or requesting if we can have that testing session of like testing kits at the clinic, like how people normally visit the clinic. It would be better if you check me than him checking me, right? And you know, in this modern world here, we have this this word of typing, like trying error or try and fail. Like everybody wants to try a new thing, yeah. So that's why you see people always have a lot of sexual intercourse, do this. So it will not be recommended as I myself to go to a gentleman over to this guy to test me than coming to you. So my appeal or my request is, if we can have the testing kits at the clinic for a better.
All right, I would like to wrap up. Mr. Chagaba, and I'm concerned because now I'm reaching the parent level. From our discussions here, the initial question got narrowed down to provide testing kits. That, as people who are in a position to intervene, communicates a lot. That while we are concerned about the risky sexual behaviors, the peers are saying, yes, we can remove the risk, and then we continue with our sexual behaviors, or sexual experiences, or sexual experimentation. So, and this goes back to what I said in my opening statements, that we are in an era where we are not afraid, we are not even in a state of acceptance, we are not even in denial. We are in the oops era. You're like, oops, I was caught in this net. I didn't know. The same thing that happens with pregnancies is the same thing that happens with getting HIV. So what we need to come to terms with as individuals who are in a position where we can intervene is accept that the young people are going to be sexually active, especially when they're at the university because they're above 18, so it's not illegal. And it's not, by culture and religious virtues, it will be wrong. But if we look at it from another angle, it is acceptable. There is nothing wrong with it. So if we come to terms with that, then we should put in place measures that help them protect themselves. And I think even testing is not enough. So at a later stage, when you have another forum and an opportunity to discuss, Jackie, I think you should discuss more on those particular risky sexual behaviors and how we can either have a healthy engagement. So if it is poverty, how do we address the poverty so that this poverty does not lead someone to having risky sexual behaviors? If it is that you are going to be in a relationship, can we have you to test, but also counsel you on how not to have multiple sexual partners, on how to ensure that regularly you get to check yourselves so that the riskiness of the behavior goes away. And we move away from the oops moments, because I've had several times that I've interacted with students and their worry is I am pregnant. The worry is not that I have an STI or I have HIV, okay? Which is very disturbing. So I want to thank you all for your time. Jackie, I hand over to you.
Thank you so much, Gladys. About the issue of testing kits, personally, I've gone to AIC. I asked them for the testing kits, but for the sake of accountability, they said they can't issue them. That is why at least every semester, we organize a VCT, and they come and they test us. And another thing, I think when you're exposed or when you have sex and you want to find out, I think they say you're supposed to test every 3 months. So let's say you have sex in this week, and then you test, and then the results are negative. And then in the due course, you again have sex. You will never get to find out, you will never get to know the real results because you want to test all the time. So we shall discuss that, and once we have a solution, we shall be letting you know. So we have about we are going to light the candles, but before that, Mr. Dean, do you have something you'd like to add?
Maybe I was teasing Gladys here that the teacher in her cannot go away. After this discussion, what is the take home? Because before we go for the candle light, what is the take home? Beyond making informed choices and taking informed decisions. What's the take home?
For me, I think in order for us to heal, because remember it is together we remember, together we heal through solidarity through love and solidarity. So whenever this moment comes, I think of my loved ones who have passed away from HIV and those who are having HIV currently and are taking their medication. But I also think of myself and my children and my colleagues, my dear friends. And when I think of that particular span of individuals, the first thing that comes to my mind is how do I protect myself? How do I protect my children? And how do I encourage my colleagues to stay healthy? Okay? Whether they are HIV positive or HIV negative, how do they stay healthy? Because if the ones who are HIV positive stay healthy, that is take their medication and we take care of them, they will live long enough, but they'll also be more positive and supportive towards the greater family. So for me, my take home is let's try as much as possible to cut the infection chain. Find ways of protecting yourself as an individual. If you can't help it and you feel like you're going to have sex with an individual, find ways of protecting yourself. The business of, let me close my eyes and face the other side because I'm a woman and we can't talk about this, only affects you in the end as a young lady. And as a young man, you have in your power to use a condom if you can't help yourself. But if you can and you find this person and you test each other and you get committed to each other, because even at the university you can get committed to each other, okay? Then do that. We shall be able to break the chain of new infections, especially among individuals who are 20 to 35. Because at that time we are at a prime of our lives, we are highly productive. Yeah, for me, that's the take home.
And I think that summarizes it all. Thank you very much. Now you can light the candles.
So in this moment, as we take our selfies, as we wonder why these candles are lit, put on, we think of the people we have lost to HIV. If you have that one relative, please do think about them and pray for their restful repose. But also we pray for those who are living today, that they find comfort, they find love, they find empathy and support from the people that they stay with. And to us, or we say to me, everyone say to me who is HIV negative, you try as much as possible to take care of yourself and protect yourself and put yourself out of harm's way. So we are all going to say, is it a happy? Happy International AIDS Candlelit Memorial. So we go, Happy International Candlelight AIDS Memorial. You finish your selfies, you turn them off and put in the box again.
You turn them off. I put my perspective here.
No, if I usually want to, but the challenge.
You're watching Ayit TV, empowering you.
Elevate your event with Ayit TV. Are you looking for ways to make your events more memorable? Contact Ayit TV for professional event live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. Our package also includes photography, a 55-inch screen for live projection, and social media handling to make your event extra special. Get in touch today to find out how we can help you elevate your event. Contact us on 0789 000 492 or 0705 909 760 or visit our website at www.ayit.org. Bring your event to life with our live streaming services. From parties, workshops, conferences, Ayit TV will make sure your audience gets a memorable experience. Contact us today on 0789 000 492 or 0705 909760 to get started.